Roasting has been a popular part of the comedy culture since the Friar Club's roast back in the late 40s. The format of these roasts have evolved throughout the years, from the celebrity roast hosted by Dean Martin to Comedy Central roast that we all know and love today. Comedians Talent and Fig have now developed their own style roast and have created a new competition show centered on the style of comedy called Dis Kings. Today we have comedians Talent and Fig calling into the show to talk about their new series in the art of roasting. Talent and Fig, first and foremost, thank you so much for joining us. How are you doing today?
Good, thanks for having us.
Absolutely, and also in the studio we have our comedy hype analysts, Capone and Pierre as well, which I know y'all are all familiar.
Hey, I know those guys.
Yes.
It's like a big family reunion. That's what we were saying before. It's like we're just coming back together.
We might start Dis Kings right now.
Okay. Now remember you said that. Now if I bring that back, if I bring now I know now Talent and Capone, you guys actually did the New York Kings of Comedy tour together, right?
Right.
How was that?
Well, actually, you know, that's a fantastic thing that's still ongoing. We got a lot of years under our belt with the New York Kings. We created this avenue out there in the comedy world, and people bid on it. Like when you're on something hot, you just keep going. So, you know, Capone is what we call our anchor of the tour. You know, we use him to headline and bring the shows home. Mark Vieira, Latin sensation. Of course, my man Rob Stapleton, $8, Rob Stapleton. Mm-hmm. He's part of the show, and I usually hold it down hosting. I mean, we mix it up if we got to, but right now we win it. Ain't broke, don't fix it. You know what I mean?
Talent was actually the king in New York, and I was a New Jack coming in, and he had dealt with New Jacks like Rudy Rush, and I asked him to put me under his wing, and he like kind of, knocked me out of the, I only deal with one. I only deal with one person at a time. I was like, all right.
You got two wings, though. Yeah. Dirty, boy. Dirty.
No, he always tell that story. The true story is we were in separate cell blocks, and he had 2 more years on his sentence than me. So what we did was say, when we go to the board, whoever make parole first got to put the other one on. You know what I mean? And Capone got out before me, and he didn't do that. So when I came back around, I returned the favor. But we know each other for 20-something years.
That's dope. So how about, now I know Pierre, you're familiar with both Fig and Talent. How did y'all meet?
Just, you know, being a DC comic coming up to New York, and then, well, actually I was in LA when I started coming up to New York, and they was running things, and I gotta give them credit. They opened up the doors. I think, to me, New York comics, more than any other comic, if a new person comes in town, another comic comes in town, they'll open up the doors and let them perform on shows. I've even seen them bump other comics that are on the show to let another guy from out of town come. Now, other cities I know, Atlanta, LA, they act like they gotta be on stage. This is the only time to be on stage. Like, Negro, you live here. You be here every week, man. But I gotta be on tonight, man, tonight. But I say New York comics, they give you, you know, if you're in town, new comic in town, coming in town, they realize the travel you did, boom.
One thing about New York, we care about the funny more than any other city. Like, we love camaraderie, but we care about funny. We know that New York is the toughest audience, so if you don't give a good show, they're gonna talk about your ass, or you're gonna be grand opening, grand closing. Right. So Pierre was one of the top DC crop comics. Like, so we have what we call the usual suspects with him and the Joe Cleeseys and all them, and Kevin Anthony. When they came to town, we bumping people, man. Oh, y'all in town? All right, Smokey, do next week. You know what I mean?
Right.
You know what I mean? He moved here, so it makes sense.
As comedians, when y'all go to different cities, and let's say you don't have a show, do y'all typically like check in with whoever is, you know, big in that city at the time as comedians?
Or someone has a room. Like sometimes you go into a city and there's comics who have rooms, you know what I'm saying? And we'll go by the room to support them. And they may say, come on, you know, do some time, you know, come on, you know, do some time. So it's more like that. I wouldn't necessarily go into town and just call up any comic just to be, you know what I'm saying? It's more sometimes who has a room, or if I have a friend in there, sure, but I ain't gonna call every comic in New York. You know, check it in. You know, I'm in town. I'm in town. You know, I don't do that. I'm not saying another comic does, but I will come by a room to support. Like Talent, he has a lot of rooms. This Negro has 7 rooms a week. I mean, I don't know how he's on the road.
Yo, P, you know what, man? You right about New York, man. New York loves out of town comedians. We love to put them on stage. You know what I mean? Let them rock and stuff like that, man. And you are definitely right. It is not like that out of town, man. I actually lived in Atlanta for a few months, and I'm still waiting to get on stage.
Hell no.
So, Fig, what was it like for you during that time, traveling to different cities and growing up in comedy during that time?
When I was growing up doing comedy, talent was in the game. Capone came a little bit after me, but it was easy to see that he was gonna make his mark. You know what I mean? He came in there making a whole lot of noise, and before you knew it, he had one of the hottest rooms in the Bronx. I think we was at BBQ's, man. That may have been the longest running room in the whole city of New York. How long was that? Was that like 11 years, 12 years?
Actually,
it was
12,
in the Bronx,
12.
And comedians were scared to go up.
Yeah.
That had to be tough, I guess, to have that fear during that time.
No, it was actually Talent and Rob Stapleton is the one who made me go hard, because hands down they were the kings of New York. They had the hottest rooms, and when I was new coming in. I didn't know the business, and so trying to reach out to these guys, it's like you got to make your presence known. And I tried my best to make it known. I went a little different with the crowd, and it was successful. And I say I owe it to them.
Well, I would say, especially, and I've heard this rumored about New York. I experienced it, but comics have said this. New York has some of the strongest MCs on shows. I mean, really, Talent, him. So you got to follow them.
Right.
It ain't fun. You got to bring your A game when you're in town. If they ask you for a guest spot, you better bring your theater show on a guest spot, okay? Because the pressure was so up there. You know what I'm saying? I know a lot of comics who are afraid to go on.
Yeah.
And someone says, "Yo, come do a guest spot." No, I'm cool. I'm here watching everybody. I'm watching everybody. Get the hell out of here. You ain't gonna, the fear was real. So Talent, Capone, a lot of Ross Stapleton, they bring up the pressure so high. The show will be up so high between every comic that, if you're doing a guest spot, you got to bring your A game. And I'm being honest. You can go to LA with your B game, because they're going to sit in Atlanta with your B game. New York? No, sir.
Yeah.
So was there any sense of competition? Because it seems more like, you respect whoever it is that, is where he is, but was there a sense of competition?
Yes. Don't let them say no.
Yes. All of us.
We all competitive.
Yeah.
We like wolves up there.
Even
but
Kings,
you have to
as
be
we're
that
a
way
group.
because it's the most competitive market. And me and Cap know by living there and Fig that it could easily be grand opening, grand closing. We all know a slew of comedians that came up at the same time that can't get on stage. They can't get $50. They can't get $100 because they never really pushed themselves and been around. That's one thing about like even the New York Kings. When we out there, we are fighting with each other, politely, aggressively, right. But we know we all got to bring it going behind each other because the one before you ain't playing.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
I call New York the 90% city.
What's that?
I call it the 90% city is because when you hit the stage, you better be funny 90% of the time, or you ain't gonna get no more work in that city. And like Pierre is telling you, New York has some of the hottest comedians, come into the city from across the country. Talent, Capone, Rob Stapleton. I mean, you name it. It was just a hard city to perform in. And if you didn't bring it 90% of the time, you weren't gonna get no work. And Lord knows, like P said, if you didn't bring it, you had to follow these dudes, you know what I mean, who is hosting. Talent hosting, he gonna destroy the room before he bring you up. Capone hosting, he gonna destroy the room before he bring you up. That's why P said, when you come on stage, you better bring it or you going home with your tail between your legs.
And that's coming from Fig. He moved to Connecticut.
So have you guys ever had that moment though, like where you go on stage and you just bomb, like you're maybe in New York specifically, where you hop on stage and it's just, so y'all have always been great, huh?
No, I never bombed.
There's a club called Consuego. Okay, that is not a comedy room. Okay, them Negroes is off the chain. I've been there 5 times and caught 2 L's directly. I ain't gonna lie, I caught 2. It just wasn't my thing. I don't know why they kept bringing me back. Maybe there are comics that don't want to do that room. You know that, right? Come on, there's some comics who don't want to do that room at all.
What's the name of it? What room?
Salsa Consuego.
It ain't for everybody, yo. It ain't for everybody.
Right, yeah.
But that's that reminds me of back in the day, 559 was in Atlanta.
Yep.
BBQs was in the Bronx with Cap. And the thing those two rooms had in common was that you had to bring it. Like, there was no if and but about. There were rooms with real ass crowds. The only difference in Cap and BBQs and 559 in Atlanta was Bruce was the host. He knew it was a non-survival room, so he would come. He would like, bro, don't even try to impress these people. Get up there. All you gotta do is walk up there, say hello, say good night. Your money's here. Now in New York, we don't play that in New York. You gotta at least try.
Yeah. Yo, man, you know what? I thought that I was the only one that Bruce did that to. I didn't know he was doing it to you guys too, man. I went to we was on back in the day. It was the Creative Tour.
Yeah, the Creative
and
Tour.
559 was one of the spots. Man, I went on stage at 559. Bruce, when he gave me the mic, he just whispered in my ear. He said, "Hey, man, just do whatever you can. Don't even worry about it."
That's true. That's true.
I know, as well as comedians, y'all have also ventured into the movie side of things. Mm-hmm. So as a comedian, especially stand-up comedians, was that a tough transition for you all? Like going from, being on stage to now you're in a movie?
Not me.
No, yeah, and when you're talented, it's not.
Yeah. Serious, it comes naturally. You gotta know how to read.
Right.
If you know how to read, that's it. Yeah.
What about for you, talent? Would y'all agree with that? Is it easy going from going on stage to being in a film or a movie?
Film.
Well, I think for me, structure changes everything. Like, so it's not the acting part per se,
Okay.
It's the structure, because comedians have a very time-wise, our schedule can be as lax as we allow it. So back in the day when we started comedy, we'd be out so much all night, we don't get up and start our day till 11, 12 in the afternoon. So when you get a movie, you land a film, now you got to be on set 6 a.m. Now you know what I mean? In a motion picture, it's like work. It's like going back to the job format where you left for X amount of years. So now you pull back in doing the movie, but to do the movie, you're waking up every day, Monday through Friday, like a job format. You have the job at 6 a.m. You don't rap. It ain't no set time to rap. Is when they say, we got all the things we need today. Today's a wrap. Like, it's not like, oh, we're going to let you out at 3 o'clock. It don't work like that. So you go back into that format. To me, that's the only challenge. It's just like when I got into radio. The hours are early. I'm used to getting up late. So now you got to retrain your body and your mind to be functioning at an earlier time than it normally we're used to.
And Talent, you actually played in Sunset Park, right?
Mm-hmm.
How was that?
Oh, it's like butter, baby.
How did you land that role?
Let me say this. Listen, I haven't had an extensive movie career like some of these dudes. My thing was more in commercials. You understand what I'm saying? I did like a bunch of commercials. But when it comes to movies, the person that I need to talk to is the dude who was in the movie with Halle Berry. Oh. So that's the person that I want to talk to, because that's the one who should be telling us what it's like when you have to get up in the morning and go see what Halle Berry looked like on set.
She looked good in the morning, too. A couple times I didn't want to roll out of bed and talk to you. Whoop. No.
So not only, y'all have been in movies, but y'all, got to work with other stars. Speaking of stars, like in Sunset Park, Talent, I know you worked with Fredo Starr, right? How was it working with him?
If you look back at that movie, we was the platform for a lot going forward. Terrence Howard's career, you got Fredo Starr in there, you got DeAndre Barnes, who's one of the best actors you could ever work with. He just got into some trouble and disappeared off the scene, had to do some time, but you got Antoine Tanner, Anthony C. Hall, Rhea Perlman, who was everybody's favorite little white lady from Cheers. You know what I mean?
Yes, sir.
So it was beautiful going to work. That made it a lot easier getting up in the morning. And it didn't hurt that Danny DeVito's company was Jersey Films that was producing the movie. They just did Pulp Fiction. Now they're doing Sunset Park. So every day you went to your trailer, you had some extravagant gift from Danny DeVito. Nice. Every day. I mean, I ran out of places to put boom boxes and mink coats and shoes. And
just Negro gifts.
Hype you up. So how was Fredo on set? Because I know we've done the story on him and kind of, you know, from an outside perspective, but actually being someone who has worked directly with him. How was that?
Well, he was dope. He's a dope person. Like, he is what you see is what you get type of dude. So it's no like when he's rapping, he's this dude, and when he's acting, he's the same dude across the board. And what me and him got tight because we had to actually do 90% of the filming in LA in Long Beach. So we were the New York cats flown out there to do this, to pull it off. And the script had been sitting for years, so the slang was old. So the first thing, he was a hip hop dude. So the first thing he talking about, like, man, they don't say this no more. I was like, word. So we went to the writer and the director and was like, yo, this stuff is old slang. And they was like, well, punch it up. Wherever y'all see the words need to be changed, we want it to be relevant. We want it to be new. So me and Pedro and a couple of our buddies from New York, we went through the whole script and changed all the lingo. We didn't change the plot or nothing like that, but we would change all the lingo to make the slang more up to date.
Right. So meeting him, was that scary for you, or was that like a norm? You're kind of used to growing up with somebody like Fred.
No, I was like Capone. Like Capone said, I was starstruck because you got to realize Strap. That movie Strap was a hood classic. Yo, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm looking at him like, whoa. Between that and just Onyx, like, he was larger than life at that time.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
looking at him I'm like, yo. And then same thing with Capone. I think we know who we are and we know what we do, but we never cease to be shocked that our peers and celebrities know us and know our name and know what we do. So when he was like, yo, I got talent. You funny. He said, I got to go to comedy club. I'm looking at him like, oh, you know I do comedy? Go, oh, okay, yeah, come to the club. So, and he did. He used to come to the Boston Comedy Club all the time, so you starstruck at first. Even when we were out there, we did the premiere for Sunset Park at Magic Johnson's Theater inside the mall, right? And what they did it so big time, they shut the whole mall down, had the people come in and build a full court basketball floor, made it like some elegant dining tables and chairs and candles and all that, star-studded the thing out. So we went into the theater, Magic Johnson hosted himself. And I'm sitting there again. I'm like, this is my favorite basketball player. I'm starstruck. And he's talking to us and saying our name and talking about the roles and everything. We all mouth open like, wow. So we go out there and they have to set up all the stars are there. Everybody from Bruce Springsteen, Jane Russo, John Travolta, the whole Pulp Fiction cast. And everybody's just sitting out there, and these fake teams come out, and they play some basketball music, and they got rims up, and they doing a layup line and crossing all that. And let me tell you something. In the floor, the end-all, be-all of celebrities, when Suge Knight, because they opened a record store, only store open was the record store for the soundtrack, Sunset Park soundtrack. And when Suge Knight and Tupac, because they on the soundtrack, came out there, man, listen, it was over. It was over.
Oh, man.
That's definitely one for the books that that's something that you can't ever forget.
It was over.
Wow.
So did you guys keep in contact after the movie?
Pedro and I, we talk all the time. The only one we can't catch up with, is hard to catch up with, is Terrence Howard. Everybody else keeps in contact. Terrence Howard, but he's a little, we know he's a little off, No, for real. He's like.
What do you mean by a little off?
He's a little off. Like, he's what we would call strange, or some people call crazy or whatever. Let me give you an instance. He was the only dude that went to jail during the making of the movie. Like, he they towed his truck somewhere over there. Here's the thing. They said, yo, this Saturday, we don't want nobody flying home. We want everybody to remain available. We need to do the photo shoot for the movie. Now, if you look at the movie, when it came out, that's one poster. But when it went to DVD, that's a whole nother poster, because we had to pull up old shots because they wanted the starting five to be around the coach. That was the premise.
Right.
So we get to the place Saturday. Everybody's there. 10 a.m. No Terrence. They say, take a break. Go eat something. Wait about an hour or two. We took a 2-hour break. No Terrence. They was like, you know what? Let's just get what we can get. Whatever, we'll figure it out later. Come to find out, Monday, he comes to the set late. They towed his truck from somewhere. This dude, this is what I mean by off. He goes home to get a sawed-off shotgun.
Yeah.
To go to the pound to rob his car back. He gets
Wow.
at gunpoint, he gets his truck back. Now here's my thing. Dude, your car is registered to you. They're coming back to your house. So they went back to the house because they got all the information and arrested him. He spent the weekend in jail.
Wow.
Whoa,
That's a special person.
Yeah,
Yeah, to say the least, yeah.
Can you imagine robbing somebody at gunpoint and go, oh, before I let you go, here's my address, right?
Right.
Well, I guess I get what you're saying about a little different. But I know you guys are here to talk about Disc Kings. And I definitely want to make sure we dive into that. But first, the art of roasting. So from an outside looking in, and what I know, a lot of comedians can't do roasting. Like, just because you're a comedian, it doesn't mean that you can roast. How did you, what is the point that you know, like, okay, I can step into that side of comedy? Like, when was it that, not only can I do just stand-up, but I can actually roast?
It's really the other way around.
Okay.
You usually start off roasting, if you're especially from the streets. If you're from the hood, the ghetto, the street, that's what we do. What you got on, what you look like. Your mama might say you're beautiful, but the street gonna tell you your ear lopsided, your nose waggy. You know what I'm saying? You're gonna find out your deficiency in the hood. And we usually start off that, which transcends into stand-up comic. I don't know too many stand-up comics who never roasted come back to try to roast, but it usually starts the other way around. For me, that's how it was, most comics.
Is that, would you guys agree with that as well?
Oh, absolutely. I think the only difference is, sorry, Fig, the only difference to me is a roast is the organization of Snap. When you put it together in a roast form, then you usually got the person that's being roasted, and then in the midst of that, you snap it on the sidelines of other people that's there. If you see something or whatever, but to snap or bag or cap, those things come directly from the street, from the hood, and like Pierre said, it starts from there, and you got to learn to be a comedian. Like, you got to learn that. That's why everybody's not a good snapper or can't do it, because they didn't start from there. It's hard to go as a comedian, learn that, and then learn to snap. That's rare. That's very rare.
Yeah, it's rough. See, the thing is that when I was coming up in New York, we used to go to this club called Uptown, and some of the other clubs around. And if you couldn't snap or you couldn't handle hecklers, they wouldn't let you perform. That was the first thing so you had to learn how to handle a crowd.
Yeah.
And if you couldn't handle a crowd, there was no performing in New York City at all. They didn't want to hear nothing you had to say. So you had to learn that art in order to be able to perform back in the day when I was coming up. You had to do that.
The problem is the guy in the audience think he can.
Yeah.
So, as soon as he can't wait to see you grab that mic. Oh, big head ass.
Right.
Fig, and I want to start with you. Do you have a most memorable roast, whether it was you being roasted or you roast somebody that just that's like a stamp in your roasting career, if you will?
You know what? My stand-up wasn't strong when I first started, but what I could do, I could roast and I could go back and forth with anybody. And when I was in the clubs, when I first started out, that's all I would do was mess with the crowd. And I would snap on the crowd. But then I learned is that, I don't start with them first. I let them mess with me. But one of my most memorable stories is one of the roughest clubs that we talked about, 559. I went out there on my second trip, and they brought me up. And before I got a chance to say anything, they started heckling and booing me. And I was like, yo, man, I didn't even get a chance to say nothing. How y'all gonna boo me? I ain't even say nothing. And this dude stood up in the middle of the crowd. I kid you not. He stood up in the middle and said, boo! Get off the stage. Boo! I told you, get off the stage. Let me tell you, I destroyed him for about 5 to 10 minutes, one snap after another. And it went from me being booed, and I got a standing ovation when I came off the stage at 559.
Oh yeah, I can see that.
You see, that's how that.
And in black clubs, it ain't even your act sometimes. It's what you got on or whatever. If they don't like what you got on, it's on and popping. So, You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
What's yours, Pierre? I know you're famous for roasting here. I know that.
Yeah. And speaking
memorable.
my most memorable is my show on YouTube /Comic Pierre. It's called Pierre's Podcast. We had a hell of a roast. We did roasting here. Yeah. That's, if you go to my podcast, you'll see some of the roasting we do. We in DC we call it Jonin. Everybody has a different name, like he said, so many different ways. On stage, I can't necessarily say I had. It's gonna sound terrible, but people don't know me, mess with me. I got jokes. I kind of come with it really quickly, so it don't really, I did a show one time with Samoa. I'll tell you this one. I'll tell you what happened. I was doing a theater with Samoa. And usually comics come out to some music. I walk out. There's about 1,500 people in there. I walk out, and as soon as the music stops, someone yells out, "You's a bitch and how to be a player." I hadn't a chance to even say nothing. I was like, "Well, damn, nigga." So then it's hard to roast some people when it's the theater because they way up top. They look like, so you got to kind of do generic snaps and shut up. And the worst part was, so I snapped a little bit on the guy, whoever the guy to. The show's over. I mean, the intermission comes. I walk around during intermission, and the two guys came to me like, "Yo, that was us fucking with you, man." And people think that's cool. Like the audience think that's all right. Like I was fucking with y'all. Like, dude, you didn't give me a chance to even do that. Let me just bomb or something. But he yelled out. So I remember that. That was something else.
That's dope. That's dope. Yeah. What about you, Talent?
But see, I mean, we're those type of comics where we can snap. Perfect example of what we were trying to say is, like, take a guy like Reggie McFadden, right? Reggie McFadden, dope stand-up comedian. Love him, love the way he writes, love everything. Very funny, but he's not a snapper. So we don't
talk about the Comedy Store. Don't talk about the Comedy Store.
We was on the Def Jam tour in Detroit, and we did 2 shows at the Fox Theater, 5,000 people show, and I never forget. He was having a tough time. He was in the middle of the show, but they wasn't feeling his set. So you just hear like the boo was too clear. Like somebody was very close. He was like, "Get your ass off the stage. Come on, you motherfucker." So he was like, he stopped. And I don't know why he stopped, because he can't do nothing with it. He stopped and said, "What? Who? Put the lights up. Put the lights up." Oh. This is the Fox Theater. They cut the lights up. These people got to be in like row 10, row 20. He's like, who booing? And the dude and his wife said, "Us." And he went, "Oh, okay, put the lights back down." So what the hell was that? Yo, my favorite snap thing came before I was actually a professional comedian. Right before I tried to get into comedy, it may have been about, I want to say 4 weeks before I would get on stage for the first time. I go to a club. JB Smoove had just started hosting this Sunday night at this little bar they have a back room, look like a comedy club, called the Lady Eye in the Bronx. And JB's the host. So we going, we both from Mount Vernon, we're going to support JB. So me and my boy AD, we go, we get a table, we sit at a table or two, and Hamburger's in the middle of his set. And AD, being a street snapper, is snapping, but his back is to the stage, so it's looking like it's me. So he's like, "Bitch answer." So Hamburger said, "What? Who said? Who's?" So he looking right at me. "Oh, you want to snap?" I said, "Yo, it ain't me. Yo, I'm trying to defer this. It ain't me." He's like, "No, it's you." He the same way Fig said he roasted 5 minutes, he did that to me, right? So now I'm a street snapper, so I wait outside.
Oh shit.
So Hamburger come outside and said, "Yeah." I said, "So funny in there, huh? You want to snap?" He was like, "Man, get out." So he don't know. So the crowd gathers around. It reminds me of the old days when you break dance. The crowd gathers around. I licked Hamburger's ass up. At the end of the show, all he can do is extend the hand like, "Yo, you're funny. You should try comedy."
That's how it starts.
And I was on stage 4 weeks later.
So does that still exist? And Capone, I want to definitely get to you, but does that still exist, like, back in the day when there was roasting or joning on the street? Like, is that still a thing in roasting?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah,
when we used to go on tour, I'd be on tour with Talent. As soon as we get in the van, as soon as the van door closed, Talent would start in on the hallway. "Your mother this, your father this." As soon, like, we didn't even pull off. It would start like that the whole trip, and that's all we did. But don't let Cap get away
Oh yeah,
because he got a whole different style of snapping. Cap will snap on you to music and make it rhyme.
Fig,
Don't let
me tell
him
you,
get away.
every week, every single week, there is something coming from Capone. So I am not letting this man off the hook. I am not letting this man off the hook.
Tell about the shirt coat. Tell about the shirt coat.
That has to be the most famous snap of all times. There was a thing called, a fleece, but it was like a shirt, but it was people would wear it as a coat. So it became so popular that I had a DJ named KD, that when somebody walked in with a shirt coat, they wouldn't know what was going on. And the crowd could just be talking, everybody could just be talking. And KD would go zigga zigga, and it would let me know somebody's walking in. So I would come in and we would start the song, and he would play a beat, like let's just say Busta Rhymes beat, and I would come out and it'd be like, you got a shirt coat. And I'd say, a motherfucking shirt coat. And before you know it, 500 people are joining with me, pointing at them, shirt coat. And I mean, it would feel crazy. So my whole thing was, even when it came to a snap battle, I remember I had a snap battle with Gerald Kelly, who was considered like New York's #1 snapper. And I wrote a song to Little Kim's, you should have been aware, you bitch. I'm not, that. And Gerald was, that ain't snapping. But they already carried me off the stage as the champ. So whatever you think it was, that's your business, but I won.
So speaking of snapping and roasting, like I said, you guys have a new series called Diss Kings. And I know you guys actually gave us an animated clip, so I actually want to play that for us now.
This is my man. Give it up for Kenny, y'all. Look at him. He's shaped like he lives next door to a motherfucker that work out. Ain't he?
Yeah, this is what happens when your mother and father the same nigga. Let me tell you something. Eli got his third grade picture on his shirt. Look at this shit.
Your mother. Why you two mothers got on matching muscle shirts? And ain't none of you mothers got no muscles. What's happening in the car? You like a before and after commercial. This before I got fucked up. This me while I was getting fucked up. Get the fuck out of here.
All right, we're gonna go to commercial while they get it together.
So after watching it, where does this idea come from for you guys, Diss Kings?
You know what? Well, Diss Kings started, we put it together because this is something that we did and how we started in comedy. And we've seen a lot of people come around and try and do other shows and stuff like that. And we sort of felt like it was time to bring it back to the way it used to be. We try to take it back to, like we said, when we was in school, some of the best snappers, in the neighborhood and stuff like that, bring it back to the schoolyard, bring it back to the club, and just make it raw like it used to be, just going off the top, nothing really, scripted and stuff like that. Just go off the top of your head, what you see, and just have fun with it, because a lot of times when we were doing shows, we do a battle at the end, and that would be the most popular part of the show, and people loved it. And we just felt like it was time to bring it back because we felt like there was a space where it was needed. Then we hit COVID and the clubs started shutting down. And we thought the best way to continue the momentum of it was to take it and animate it. And this way we could do it until, the government figures out what this stuff is, you know what I mean, and get us all back to normal. So we decided that we would make it animated. And that's where Diss Kings, is going right now.
Absolutely. And I think it's, for me, just like I said, from the outside, I think it's great to document things like these because as generations come up, in the comedy world, I don't think roasting should die out, especially the way that you guys talk about it. So why do you think it's so important to document roasting in a way that you all are?
Well, I think like Fig said, you want to document it now because as time go on, there's a funny comedian, Michael Colley, always say, so-and-so died. I'm gonna do this joke because so-and-so died, but the joke shouldn't have died with him. It's just like this and then snapping and jonesing. It's like that shouldn't die with us when we did it on the Uptown. That's why Monterey Ivy, shout out to the late great Monterey Ivy, took it and made HBO Snaps. You know what I mean? Another generation got to enjoy that. You know, if you look at right now with everything on YouTube and things going viral, the old snaps we did has begun to go viral, like millions of views over the years. Like people have never seen it. Like, bro, this was crazy. What is this? So now this is why it shouldn't die out. You bring it back for this generation who didn't even know that existed. We did the CD, the album. We've did 5 books of it. Like we've done all these things over the years and decades. Now it's time to refresh it, take it off the shelf, you know, regurgitate it, let people get a new take on it right now. And right now the animation thing is huge. So I think right now during COVID, that's perfect timing. And then like you said, once we figure this thing out and come on the other side of this pandemic, then you come back and now you give it to them raw with actual people instead of the animation. But
live in the club.
Yeah, they both can coexist at the same time.
And it's a competition format, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. And we want to involve like comedians across the country. You know what I mean? We want to do it in different, like have comedians from different states, Atlanta, you know, California, Detroit. You know, we want to do the urban city type thing because you know that's what we did when we were coming up. Yeah. And you know, and it made it to like, you know, HBO. There was 2 HBO specials done by, you know, Monterey Ivy, like Talent was talking about, and Stephon Dweck was his partner. And you know, he's partnering up with us now to do this project. And you know, Ray Murphy got on board. He loved what we was doing. And he was like, listen, man, this could really be something. And, you know, fast forward, we with Comedy Hype, and you know, let's see what we could do with it.
But I also think that people don't realize there would be no stand-up comedy if it wasn't for snapping. That's the, you know, because, you know, remember Signifying? That was, it started off like that first, Signifying. A lot of people think that, you know, we started doing stand-up comedy, urban stand-up comedy, but urban comedy, stand-up comedy would not be even urban stand-up comedy if it wasn't for snapping, dissing, ranking. That's where it first started, probably way back in the early 1900s or whatever, getting around each other, talking trash, boy, look at you, and it evolved into that. So the fact that, you know, people still doing it, they're doing the Diss Kings, the snapping came out, and my little show, we do a little snapping. It is just showing that that's where it started from. It's evolutionary. Don't forget to respect that, where it started, and now we're here. So if you enjoy somebody doing Cat Williams, D.L. Hughley, all the comedians, Bernie Mac, it started somewhere snapping, ranking, or whatever you want to call it first.
So roasting would kind of be how when Fig, he was talking about the painting on your back wall.
Oh yeah, he in the Holiday Inn right now. He in the lobby of the Holiday Inn.
Yeah, that was
and Talent took out everything out of his luggage and put it behind him. His whole house is empty beyond that. So you look behind that, that's the only thing he got. You go wide, you zoom out, it's empty. All his goods are behind it. Woo! Look at Big.
And then listen, and then there was nobody in the Holiday Inn, so I figured I could go ahead and do this here because I'm quiet. There ain't nobody here but me.
Housekeeping about to make you move. Right? I got to say this, senor, no more time. I got to be waiting too much. It's been an hour, senor. I got to use the lobby now. I've seen that painting before, okay?
Well, you mentioned earlier, Pierre, Diss Kings on Comedy Hype. So basically, you guys are set up right now to get a little snippet of what we can expect, right?
No, I ain't dealing with them boys.
No.
Not you. Talent can. Nah, Talent and Fig, they beasted that.
Well, you said the best jokes about them already. Ain't nothing else to say.
Yeah, that might be true too. Yeah, there it is right there.
Okay. Piano went in and it was like, I ain't snapping on this.
The first one too. Well, as we wrap up, what can we expect from Diss Kings?
Well, Diss Kings, you can expect you're gonna see me as the main host, holding it down, and you know, because you want a host that kind of come from that background, that at any given time could jump in there and check the situation. Because if somebody's corny, I'm gonna jump in and tear their ass up with the person. You know, there's gonna be a 2-on-1, and you don't even see that coming. But you shouldn't have came on the show being corny. That's the way we did snapping. Like we go quick too. You know, if you take too long in the real snap battle, this person get 2 or 3 in on your one.
Yeah,
You know what
exactly.
I mean? You'll get if you can keep up the pace, it'll be a fair fight. But the minute your ass sit there and think too long, Pierre coming another one, pow, another one, pow, another one, pow. Next thing you know, Fig really living the holiday.
You know, it just made sense. Actually, we shot it to do live, and Talent and me, we have a lot of history with the whole Snapping project. Like you said, we did the HBO specials. We was on the album. Actually, we were the only 2 comics that they flew out to LA to battle LA comedians when the album was being done. We were on the cover of the book, and it just felt right when we were doing the shooting the pilot that we did it in a club where Talent was hosting. I was like, yo, man, we doing a battle. You might as well be the host. You know what I mean? Because this is what you used to doing. It'll feel, you know, it'll feel comfortable. You know what I mean? And he just did it, and it came off good, and we took it. It got a little buzz, and then the COVID hit. So he's like, yo, man, let's not stop. Let's animate it. And that's what we did. We animated. So like Tyler said, he's the host of it. You know what I mean? And we trying to get everybody involved. The whole thing about it is that it's another vehicle to put comedians back to work during this pandemic. We don't know how long it's gonna last, but as long as it is, we're gonna put comedians to work, you know, with their voices. And then when it's over, we'll put all of us together in the club. You know what I mean? We want to get everybody a check at the end of the day and get everybody working. And that's the best part of it. We get to do what we love and make money while we're doing it.
Yeah.
And lastly, oh, go ahead.
I want to say I'm proud of you guys, because I remember Fig was actually my opening act when I was on tour before the COVID hit. And he always kept telling me about animation. And so to see that he made, you know, him and Talent made this come true is a very impressive thing. And I just want to say I'm proud of you guys. A lot of times people just talk, but when you see action, you know, I'm really about that and making your own things happen. So if you never heard it from anybody, I will tell you, I'm extremely proud of both of y'all for bringing this back.
Salute,
Appreciate
man.
you, man. And listen,
so much,
let me just tell you this. You can't be on tour with the ultimate businessman and not learn something. You understand? You can't be on tour.
You can't do
with
a
the
show
king of
without.
merchandise.
You can't do the show here without.
Let me tell you this. Capone owned his own business when he was a New Jack and comedian, and he brought that over to the comedy game. I was watching and I was learning my lessons, man. Just understand that what you was doing and what I was seeing, you know, I was taking notes.
Capone is a contractor who does comedy.
Okay. All about ownership. But we definitely do appreciate you guys stopping by. Before I let you go, when and where can people catch Dis Kings?
Well, listen, right now we are working out a deal with Comedy Hype. We're going to start airing some of the episodes on Comedy Hype, and let's just see where it goes from there. But that's the first vehicle. So tune in to Comedy Hype and check out some of the clips of Dis Kings, and we'll see what happens from there.
And it's gonna be playing at all. It's gonna be playing at all my cookouts this summer.
Oh no.
Well, Talent Fig, it's definitely been a pleasure having you on the Comedy Hype News Show. We appreciate you guys stopping by, and we're super excited to check out Dis Kings. For Comedy Hype News, I'm Symphony Thompson.
Do you know the comedy culture? Play Comedy Hype, the game. Out now.